They laughed at him. They called him a failure. He was 65 years old. No job, no money, no future. He held a small government check in his hand. Just a few dollars for old people. His back ached. His dreams were crushed. Most people would give up. Most people would sit down and say, "It's over." But not him. He stood up. He had nothing except a recipe for fried chicken and a fire in his heart. That man was Harlan Sanders. The world knows him as Colonel Sanders, and his story is one of the most unbelievable, most emotional, and most motivational success journeys of all time. Dear listener, before we greet you, I want you to hear this loud and clear. This is not just a story about chicken. This is a story about dreams. This is a story about never giving up, no matter how many times you fail. He failed for over 60 years. He worked over 20 different jobs and got fired from most of them. He was called useless. He was poor. He was even homeless. But then, something changed. And that change created a billion-dollar empire called KFC. So if you are learning English today, if you feel lost or tired, if you are searching for hope, for motivation, or for a reason to keep going, you are in the right place. Welcome, my amazing friends, to Learn English with Stories. 365, where every story helps you improve your English, your listening skills, and your life. And now, let's go back in time to a small house in Indiana, where it all began. September 9th, 1890. A baby boy is born in a small house in Henryville, Indiana, USA. His name is Harlan David Sanders. He does not come from a rich family. He does not have any special powers. He is just a normal child. But life is already waiting to test him. When Harlan is just 5 years old, something terrible happens. His father, who works hard to support the family, dies suddenly. One morning, Harlan wakes up, and his father is gone forever. His mother is heartbroken, but she cannot stop. She has 3 small children to feed. She works day and night, and little Harlan must now help. At just 5 years old, Harlan learns to cook. Yes, a small boy, standing on a stool, cooking food for his mother and younger siblings. He also cleans the house, washes clothes, and takes care of everything. Can you imagine doing all that at 5 years old? And this is where something beautiful begins. While cooking for survival, Harlan finds something special. He starts to love it. The smell of spices, the feeling of creating food, it makes him feel happy. He doesn't know it yet, but this small love will become his biggest gift to the world. But life is still very hard. There is no internet, no TV, no help, only hard work. At the age of 7, he wants to study, but there is no chance. The family is too poor. School becomes a dream. At 10, he works on a farm. His pay? Just $2 for the whole month. $2. All day under the sun, carrying heavy tools, getting blisters on his hands. For what? For survival. By the age of 12, life becomes worse. His mother marries again. Harland hopes this will bring peace. But no. His stepfather is abusive. He shouts. He hits. Harland is scared. One day, he can't take it anymore. He says, "I can't live here anymore." And just like that, at only 12 years old, Harland runs away from home. Alone. No plan. No money. Just a boy, escaping pain. This is the beginning of a long, lonely journey. But even now, he doesn't give up. He was a child with no food, no education, no love. But what he had was fire. The fire to keep going. What happens next? Wait until you hear the jobs he tried and failed. It's coming next. He was only 12 when he left home, but life didn't welcome him with open arms. It hit him harder. Harland Sanders, still just a boy, now had to survive in a world where nobody cared. He took whatever job he could find. He worked as a farmhand, waking before the sun and working until his hands bled. Then he became a streetcar conductor. Next, a soldier in the U.S. Army. After that, a railroad worker. Then a blacksmith's assistant, a steam engine stoker, a life insurance salesman, a janitor, a fireman, a tire salesman, a dishwasher, a lamp salesman, a ferry boat operator, and even a failed law student. The list goes on. Every time he found a job, he tried to give his best. But life wasn't kind. He got fired again and again. Sometimes because the company closed. Sometimes because he couldn't follow orders. Sometimes for no clear reason at all. He failed at almost everything he tried. He didn't have money. He didn't have a degree. He didn't have support. He moved from town to town, hoping that the next job would be the one. But it never was. By the time he was 30, Harland had already worked in more than 10 different jobs. None of them worked out. By 40, he was still broke, still unknown, still searching. Most people would say, "Maybe I'm just not meant to succeed." But Harland never said that. He had a quiet voice inside him that said, "Try again. One more time." He had no fancy clothes, no car, sometimes not even a place to sleep. But he had determination. He had grit. That old love for cooking, it was still there, burning softly inside him, but it had no place to grow. Not yet. Then finally, something changed. He got a small gas station in a town in Kentucky. It wasn't much, just a tiny place where travelers would stop for fuel. But Harland had an idea. He thought, what if I cook for them? So he started serving hot meals, especially fried chicken. People loved it. The chicken was different, crispy, juicy, full of flavor. Slowly, word spread. More and more travelers stopped. Not just for gas, but for Harland's chicken. It seemed like life was finally giving him a break. But just when everything started to look good, something happened that crushed it all. Again. What was it? Stay with me. The twist will break your heart and make you believe even more. Coming up, the chicken stand disaster. At 40 years old, after decades of struggle, failure, and endless disappointment, Harlan Sanders thought he had finally found his moment. His small gas station in Corbin, Kentucky, was not fancy, but it was his. And more than just selling fuel, he was doing something that gave him joy: cooking for people. He started with simple meals, nothing too expensive, just good food. Then he added his favorite, fried chicken. But not just any fried chicken. This was his special recipe, a mix of herbs and spices that he had been perfecting quietly for years. Customers began talking. "Have you tried the chicken at Sanders's place?" they would ask. Slowly, the gas station turned into a small restaurant. People from nearby towns came just to taste that chicken. Travelers, truck drivers, even local workers. They loved it. For the first time in his life, Harlan felt like he had found something that truly worked. He even received a small honor from the governor of Kentucky, who gave him the title Colonel as a mark of respect for his contribution to the state's food culture. He was now known as Colonel Sanders. He expanded his little restaurant. His white suit and black string tie became his signature look. He worked hard every single day, cooking, greeting customers, cleaning tables. He did it all himself. The place was always full. He thought, maybe this is it. Maybe I've finally made it. After 40 years of pain and failure, success had finally knocked on his door. But then, disaster struck. The government decided to build a new highway, Interstate 75. It would go around the town, not through it. Suddenly, no more travelers, no more cars stopping for gas, no more hungry customers coming in for chicken. His restaurant, which was once full every day, became empty. Just like that, everything was gone. Again. He tried to keep it open, but the bills kept coming. Eventually, he had to sell the place. He was 65 years old, no job, no income, living off a small Social Security check. People said, "It's over for him." But what if I told you that this was not the end? In fact, it was just the beginning. Because what Colonel Sanders did next, after losing everything again, will shock you. Get ready. The real journey begins at 65. Coming next, the big test. Most people retire at 65. They slow down, rest, and look back on life. But Colonel Sanders? At 65, he was just getting started. After losing his restaurant, he was broke again. He had no savings, no business, just a small government check worth $105 a month. It was supposed to help him survive. Instead, he looked at that check and said, "This isn't enough. I have more to do." And what did he still have? He had a recipe, a chicken recipe, his recipe, the one that made people smile, the one that had brought strangers together, the one that almost changed his life once. So he made a plan, a wild plan. He would go from restaurant to restaurant across the country, cooking his chicken and trying to convince them to use his recipe. He would offer them a deal. Use my recipe, sell my chicken, and I'll take a small share from each plate sold. Sounds simple, right? But it wasn't. He packed some pots, pans, spices, and a pressure cooker in his old car. He drove across states, stopping at diners, cafes, roadside restaurants, any place that served food. He wore his white suit. He smiled. He spoke with hope. But people laughed. Some said, "You're too old." Others said, "It'll never work." Some just said no before he finished talking. He kept going. He slept in his car. He ate cheap meals. He washed up in public restrooms. He kept his suit clean. He kept his head high. He believed that someone, somewhere, would believe in him. And then came the numbers. 10 rejections, 20, 100, 300, 500. Still no one said yes. 700, 800, 900. Still nothing. Would you have given up? Colonel Sanders didn't. On the 1010th try, one small restaurant owner finally said, "All right, let's give it a try." And just like that, the first deal was made. The restaurant served his chicken using his method. Customers loved it. Sales went up. The owner was happy. Sanders got his share. Soon, other restaurants started to listen. They saw the results. More deals were signed. One store became 5. 5 became 20. Then 50. Then hundreds. And suddenly, Colonel Sanders, the man who had nothing at 65, was building an empire. Can you believe that? 1009 rejections. 1 yes. And that one yes changed the world. But the story isn't over yet. Coming up next, the KFC revolution. How Colonel Sanders's name became a global legend. Stay with me. This part will make you smile. It started with one restaurant, then another, then another. Word began to spread like fire. Colonel Sanders's chicken wasn't just good, it was special. Crispy on the outside, tender inside, full of flavor, and always consistent. The secret? A pressure cooking method that locked in the taste and his legendary mix of 11 herbs and spices. But it wasn't just the chicken that people loved. It was the man behind it. The old gentleman in the white suit, with his kind smile and fiery determination. People didn't just eat his food, they admired his spirit. As more restaurants signed his deal, he knew he couldn't do it all alone. So he turned the idea into something bigger. A franchise. A model where other people would open restaurants under his name, sell his chicken, and share a part of the profit with him. It was brilliant. He didn't need to own every restaurant. He just needed to protect the quality and the brand. By 1964, less than 10 years after he started this journey at 65, Colonel Sanders had over 600 KFC franchises across the United States and Canada. The business was booming. His white suit, black string tie, and gentle Southern charm became his trademark. People all over the country, and soon the world, recognized the face of Colonel Sanders. That same year, at the age of 73, he sold his company for $2 million. That's more than $20 million in today's money. But even after selling it, he stayed on as the brand ambassador. He continued visiting stores, talking to customers, and making sure the chicken still tasted just right. He wasn't doing it for money. He was doing it because it was his passion. It was his life. And from that point forward, KFC became a global icon. Kentucky Fried Chicken stores opened across the world, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and wherever it went, the image of the Colonel followed. The man who failed for decades was now the face of a global food empire. But even with all the money and fame, Colonel Sanders never forgot who he was. He knew what it felt like to be poor, rejected, and forgotten. And that made him different. Coming next, the legacy, the praise, the power, and the final message that still inspires millions. By the time Colonel Sanders was 75 years old, his face was everywhere. Billboards, TV commercials, magazines. People didn't just know the brand, they knew the man. And they loved him. Not because he was rich, not because he was famous, but because he was real. He had lived through pain. He had fought through failure. And now, finally, the world saw his worth. He traveled across countries, visiting KFC stores in every corner of the world. People lined up to shake his hand, to take pictures with him, to say thank you. Children smiled when they saw him. Families welcomed him like a hero. For many, he was more than just the founder of a food brand. He was proof that it's never too late to follow your dream. Even world leaders respected him. Businessmen asked for his advice. Young entrepreneurs studied his life. They all wanted to know how a man with no money, no degree, and no business training could build one of the biggest food chains in the world. His answer was simple. Work hard, believe in what you do, and never give up. He remained humble. He didn't wear gold watches or drive fancy cars. He still wore the same white suit, still smiled the same kind smile, still cared about how the chicken tasted. Even when he was famous, he would walk into a KFC restaurant, sit down, order a plate, and ask the manager, "Does this taste like it used to?" He wanted every customer to feel the same love and care he had put into that first meal back at his gas station. Because for him, it wasn't about fast food. It was about quality, about pride, about people. From invisible to unstoppable, from rejection to respect. But even legends have to say goodbye. And what Colonel Sanders left behind was more powerful than money. Coming next, the final lesson. A message to you, dear listener, that could change the way you see your own journey. Don't miss it. Colonel Sanders passed away in 1980 at the age of 90. When he died, the world didn't just lose a businessman. It lost a symbol of never giving up. Today, there are over 25,000 KFC restaurants in more than 145 countries. But the numbers are not what matter most. What matters is the message behind the man. He was not born rich. He was not given success. He earned it, slowly, painfully, step by step. He was rejected over 1,000 times. He failed at more jobs than most people even try. He lost his business when he thought his life was finally changing. And yet, he stood up again. At an age when many give up, he decided to try one more time. One more door. One more dream. And that one decision, just one, changed his life and the lives of millions around the world. So what does this mean for you? Maybe you've failed. Maybe you feel too old, too tired, too stuck. Maybe people don't believe in you. Maybe you've started something and it didn't work. Maybe you're learning English and struggling, feeling embarrassed or slow. But I want you to remember this. You are not too late. You are not too weak. And you are definitely not finished. Like Colonel Sanders, you have a gift. You have a story. And it's not over yet. The most powerful thing he taught us wasn't how to make chicken. It was how to keep going. How to believe in yourself even when no one else does. How to turn pain into power. So, dear learner, as you continue your English practice, your personal goals, your life journey, remember this story. Repeat these words out loud with me. I will never give up. Because success doesn't always come fast, but it always comes to those who keep moving. Thank you for joining us here on Learn English with Stories 365. If this story moved you, helped you, or inspired you, share it. Help others learn. And keep learning English through stories. One word, one sentence, one powerful lesson at a time. See you in the next story, my amazing friends.